Hello everyone, my name is Jules. Oh my gosh. I think that was just a balloon. But how stressful. Whew. Hello everyone, my name is Jules and thank you so much for tuning in today to my channel. Today I have a book haul that I've accumulated over the past few months, so it's not like all at once, so that's not too bad, right? But yeah, it is a lot of books for someone like me who only reads like maybe 4 or 5 books a month. I'm aware of that, but yeah, I definitely need to come up with a system for me to kind of balance out my TBR, my physical TBR, with the book buying that I do. So once I figure out what my rules and system will be, I will let you guys know. But until then, let's get into the book. So the first book that I have here is The Discomfort of Evening by Marieke Lucas Rinjeveld. I don't know how to say that. I'll link it down below, but if you know how to say it, please let me know as well. It won the Booker International Prize, which is how I found out about it this year, and it sounded great. It follows a young girl whose family undergoes some sort of tragedy, and the way she copes with that is to kind of like get into her own head and fantasize, and things start to turn quite dark. So yeah, when a tragic accident ruptures the family, her curiosity warps into a wild vortex of disturbing fantasies, unlocking a darkness that threatens to derail them all. So that sounds great. It sounds like a really good winter read, but yeah, I've been on a middle grade kick and I've been rereading my old Judy Blumes, and I was like, let me read some more middle grade books. And then, like perfectly staged, like life circumstances, all my stars aligned, I was on Bookstagram and someone was making a Scholastic order, and I was like, oh my god, Scholastic still exists? I had thought they had just stopped. I thought they had gone out of business. How conceited of me that without me Scholastic had gone out of business. But yeah, I made a Scholastic order for some middle grade books. So I first got the Percy Jackson set. As you can see, it's still wrapped up because I don't know where to put it yet. But yeah, I think the spines are supposed to align into like some sort of wave picture. But I actually have not read Percy Jackson. I have not watched the movie. So I'm really curious. I know nothing about it really, other than the idea that Percy has some sort of powers. I also love Greek mythology, so I don't know why I haven't read this series or why I didn't read it as a child, but I'm really excited for that. Another middle grade order I made was for the Ascendant Trilogy. I've also never read this. I actually had never heard of it. It was on sale at Scholastic, and I looked it up on Goodreads just to see if it was worth getting, and a lot of people really like it. It's not a trilogy. I'm upset that they lied to me because it says there's a 4th book right here on the back. To be honest, I don't know a lot about it. I know it's like a middle grade, fictional, kingdom, medieval based story. I think there may be some magic as well. But I was kind of in the mood to read something like Game of Thrones. I know this is not Game of Thrones, but that was what I was in the mood for. I watched the show, and then I was like, you know what? The last book hasn't come out yet. I'm just going to wait for that to come out before I start that journey. But this seemed like it would be a good stand-in. Of course, it's like middle grade, but I just wanted to read something about kings and kingdoms. So I think this will do that for me, and I'll let you guys know what I think. So the next book I have here is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. This is also another Man Booker Prize winner, and I'm not sure what year. Yeah. But all I know about this book is that we're following Tony, who had a group of lifelong friends that he formed when he was in high school, and now we're seeing Tony as a retired man, and he gets a letter from a lawyer, and things are kind of, his memory is kind of thrown into question. Like, people remember things as better than they used to be. So something clearly happened in his like childhood or teenage years, it seems like, with his friends that he doesn't remember correctly. I love the trope of an unreliable narrator. So yeah, I'm excited for that. Let me just move these guys out of the way. The next book I got is The Hobbit. This is obviously from the secondhand store. It's like $5. But I've not read Lord of the Rings. It's on my list of things to read, but The Hobbit, I just have never seen this copy in a paperback edition. So when I saw it, I loved it and I had to get it. I'm a big fan of paperbacks. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but like I read a lot lying down, and so like I find like hard hardcovers just like very cumbersome, and they also like get smushed like usually as well, and I don't like the way that looks. So yeah, I love paperbacks, and when I saw this cover of The Hobbit, I had to have it. The next book, I think I got it mostly for the cover, because I think I looked at the Goodreads and it wasn't that great in terms of ratings. But it's called The Sex Life of My Aunt by Mavis Cheek, and yeah, I don't know much about it. I heard it was not really about her sex life though. Yeah, so it's about a woman who seems to be having like somewhat of like a midlife crisis. She is very proud of her life and the life that she's led and what she's been able to do for her family, but she meets a man at a railway station who piques her interest. So yeah, I really like the way this book looks. I'll admit that's probably why I got it. And I don't really read a lot of romance, but I'm quite interested in this book. Next book, book 2, won't stop talking about, especially last year. It's A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. It was shortlisted for the Man Booker in 2015, and I was watching booktube at the time. So when people started talking about this last year and started making like all these vlogs of them reading it and crying, I was like, isn't that this? I had thought it was a different book, but no, it was just this book having a comeback. I don't really like this cover. I wish I had the other cover of the man, but this is what I could get at the secondhand store, and I settled because I really want to read this. It's such a chunky book though. But all I know is people have very different opinions on this book. Some people think it's like a whole bunch of torture porn, and some people thought the author was valid in the amount of distress that she put her characters through. So I'm just interested in seeing what my opinion of this book will be. I know it follows another group of boys, I think, and their friendship over multiple years. I love those kind of things that take place over years and decades. So that book, I'm like, my pile is growing. So the next book I picked up is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, and I got it for $2. It's a little roughed up. But this is a book I have heard a lot about. I've heard mixed reviews. I believe it follows someone on the spectrum, like that's the protagonist, and he's trying to solve the mystery of a dog who was murdered in his neighborhood, and it kind of takes him on this journey that is very interesting and a little absurd. So the next book that I picked up was Moral Disorder by Margaret Atwood. This is actually, I think, a collection of short stories, and they're focused mostly on the ways relationships transform a person's life. So yeah, I took a flip through and I think I read one of the short stories and it looked good, so I picked it up. The next book over here, this pile is getting huge, is Another Part of the Wood by Beryl Bainbridge. So this is another book that I picked up because of the cover. It's like a reprint of the Penguin Decades collection, but it basically follows a family, or a few families, I believe, who are on a holiday together, and tensions start to rise just in terms of being in proximity with each other, and some accident takes place. So that's all I know about this guy. And let me see, I can probably fit one more book. I also got Timbuktu by Paul Auster. And this is my first book by him as well. I've heard his name before. And this book is told in the perspective of a dog named Mr. Bones. And we're following Mr. Bones and his owner, Willie, who is homeless. And they are on this quest. Willie's on this quest to find his English teacher. And he wants to give him ownership of Mr. Bones, I think. That's what I get from the blurb, at least. I think I should move the stack now. So the next book I got was Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I actually got this at one of those like public library boxes in the neighborhood where you can take a book, leave a book. So this is the book that I took, and then I went back later and put another book in its place. And yeah, I've always wanted to read Anna Karenina. It's been on my list, and that's all I can say really. So I also picked up The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. This also, I think, placed for the Booker Prize this year. And I usually gel with the Booker and Man Booker prizes, which is why I pick most of them up or read them on audiobook when I can. This book is set in the not too distant future, it seems like, but it follows a mother-daughter duo named Agnes and Bea, and based on this blurb, the world is kind of overpopulated, there's a lot of pollution, and Bea sees that her daughter really isn't doing so well health-wise in this where they live, which is called the city-state, which is like, I guess, the most overpopulated and the most polluted. And so she decides to take the risk and join an experiment with her daughter where the group of volunteers will be going into the wilderness state, which has never been really explored before. And so yeah, so she takes this risk, and I think it's supposed to talk about motherhood and society, and yeah, that's all I know, and I'm excited. So the next book I picked up, I'm really excited for, The Island of Sea Woman by Lisa C. It's a very pretty cover. And this is just the premise I found super fascinating. So it takes place on an island called Jeju, which is off of the shores of South Korea. And there is a community that actually exists on that island called the Haenyeo. And Haenyeo are a group of all women divers. So they have diving collectives set up along the island. And so we're following Mija and Yang Suk, who are two women who are part of the same diving collective, and the friendship that forms between them and the hurdles that they go through. And it's supposed to follow multiple decades. So yeah, I thought, I haven't read anything that was set in this community before, so I'm very excited. And the last book I've mentioned in my anticipated reads for the year as well. It is The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. So I picked this up when it came out, and I'm very excited. I'm about a quarter of the way through, but if you don't know what it's about, it's a historical fiction that follows Isaiah and Samuel, who are two gay black men who are enslaved on a plantation in the South. One of their fellow slaves becomes a preacher on the plantation, and that kind of puts their relationship in jeopardy and makes their relationship, I guess, the focus of that community. Yeah, so they have to face the consequences now of this betrayal. So it's going really well. I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, another book, and now I have a big stack of books. That's it for my book haul. As you can see, she is quite large. I am quite small. Hopefully I can do it. I will have to figure out my book buying situation for sure, and once I do, I'll probably make a video or a comment about it. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down below, and if you want to stay tuned for future content, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, I hope you guys are managing to stay sane in this lockdown, and you're happy and healthy and safe and just having a wonderful day.